My family told my 13-year-old daughter at Christmas there was no room for her at the table, and kicked her out while I was working a double shift in the year. She had to drive herself home alone and spend Christmas in an empty house. I didn't make a scene. I took action. The next morning they deeply regretted it. It was Christmas Eve and I was 6 hours into a double shift at the ER when my daughter Lila texted me. "Grandma said I can't stay. I'm leaving now." At first I stared at my phone like I misread it. Thought maybe it was a prank, some kind of weird joke she'd explain in the next message. But there was nothing else. Just that. I called her immediately and when she picked up she didn't even try to hide it. Her voice was quiet, measured, trying not to crack. They kicked her out. 13 years old. The plan was simple. Lila would go to my parents' house early like she always did. We'd done it that way the past 3 years since my divorce. I'd meet them there after my shift, which was supposed to end just after midnight unless something catastrophic happened. It's the year, catastrophe is part of the job. But Christmas Eve, it hits different when you know your kid's supposed to be sitting around a warm table laughing, part of something. Instead she got told there was no room for her at the table. That's what my mom said. Verbatim. She told Lila they didn't count on her coming since I wasn't going to be there. Said the table was already full with my brother's kids and his wife's parents, and there just wasn't space for everyone. Then she added, and Lila repeated this word for word, that it would be better if she went home now to avoid awkwardness. My dad didn't stop it. Neither did my brother. Lila had driven herself there in the used sedan I bought her after she got her learner's permit last summer. She's cautious, smart and careful, but she's still just a kid. She got in that car, hands shaking, and drove herself home. No lights on when she got there. No smells of dinner. No music. Just silence. She microwaved leftover spaghetti, texted me she was fine, and then curled up on the couch with a blanket and her laptop. She watched Home Alone because, in her words, might as well make it accurate. When I got off my shift at 3:15 a.m., I drove home running on fumes. I hadn't eaten all day, but I didn't even feel hunger. I walked into the house and saw her asleep on the couch, still in her Christmas sweater. The one with little embroidered gingerbread men she picked out herself. There was a half-drunk cup of hot chocolate on the coffee table and a plate of the cookies she'd brought for everyone. She didn't leave them there to snack on. She brought them back because no one wanted them. I sat down beside her and just watched her sleep for a while. She looked like a little girl again, not a teenager. Curled up, tense, like she was bracing herself even in sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. Not in the way they probably expected. But I decided something. And the next morning, while everyone else was probably still digesting their turkey and fake smiles, I got up, got dressed, and drove across town to my parents' house. I rang the doorbell. And when my dad answered, holding a mug of coffee like nothing happened, I stepped inside without saying a word. He still doesn't know exactly when it went wrong for them. But he was about to. When I walked into my parents' house that morning, it was like stepping into a fake world. Warm lights still twinkled on the tree. Christmas music played low on the speakers. My mom was in the living room arranging leftover pies on decorative plates, like she was hosting a Hallmark commercial. My brother sat on the couch in flannel pants, his kids on the floor unwrapping the last of their gifts. His wife was half asleep under a throw blanket, scrolling through her phone like it was just another slow morning. No one expected me. They looked up when I shut the door behind me, and for a second the whole room just paused. My dad came out of the hallway with a cup of coffee and gave me this confused look, like I was the one who needed to explain myself. He asked what I was doing there. I said we were going to talk about what happened last night. About how my 13-year-old daughter got kicked out of her grandparents' house and spent Christmas Eve alone, while the rest of the family played charades and passed around eggnog like nothing happened. He immediately started in with the tone. Told me not to 'cause a scene, said the kids were present, that it wasn't the time or place. That's when I realized he still didn't get it. None of them did. They really thought I would just let it go. I looked at my mom. Asked her what, exactly, made her think it was okay to tell Lila she couldn't stay. She didn't even blink. Said it wasn't a big deal. That they didn't know she was coming. Claimed they'd only planned for a certain number of seats, and didn't want to rearrange everything last minute. Like that was an acceptable reason to turn away their own granddaughter. Said it would have been awkward with me not there. Then she added it probably would have been more comfortable for Lila anyway to be at home. More comfortable. I turned to my brother. He just shrugged and said he figured it was something between me and Mom. That they didn't want to step into it. He didn't even look up from his phone. Just sat there like he was waiting for me to finish so he could go back to sipping his coffee and watching football. I looked around at all of them, feeling something twist in my chest. Not rage. Not even disappointment anymore. Just this cold, sharp clarity. I told them Lila cried herself to sleep in the dark in a house with no dinner, no family, no noise. I told them how she sat there watching Christmas movies alone while the rest of us, her family, pretended she didn't exist. My mom looked uncomfortable. My brother avoided my eyes. And then my dad, the man who'd taken Lila to piano lessons when I had night shifts, who used to brag about her drawings to strangers at the grocery store, looked at me and said something I'll never forget. He said, "She's not really part of this family the same way. She's your daughter, not ours." I didn't hesitate. My hand moved on its own. The sound of that slap was louder than I expected. My brother's kids stopped playing. His wife sat up straight. No one said anything. My dad stood there frozen, one hand on his cheek, stunned. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain myself. I just said that if they couldn't treat Lila like family, then they weren't mine either. I said I was done. No more help with their bills. No more phone calls when their printer won't work or when their credit card company confuses them. No more free rides when they need something inconvenient. And I meant it. They stood there still trying to understand what just happened, but I was already walking out. I got in my car and went home. Lila was still asleep, curled up like she hadn't moved. I made pancakes, left her a note, and sat on the porch alone while the sun came up. That morning they lost the only person who's been bailing them out for years. They didn't know it yet, but things were about to change for real. I didn't respond to their texts that day. Not one. Not even the long one my mom sent pretending she didn't understand why I was upset, asking if I had a chance to cool down. I didn't need to cool down. I'd never been clearer in my life. My phone was buzzing non-stop. I turned it off and left it in my nightstand drawer. Lila and I spent the entire day doing nothing productive, and I made sure it stayed that way. I let her sleep in, brought her breakfast in bed, toast and orange slices with one of the cookies she baked and no one had eaten. She gave me a tired smile like she was trying not to look as sad as she felt. We stayed in pajamas all day, watched movies, played some dumb cooking game she liked on the Nintendo. But by the time the sun set, I could tell she was thinking about it again. She didn't cry. She just went quiet. After she went to bed, I sat down at the kitchen table, pulled out my laptop and a notebook and made a list. Everything I've paid for. Everything I've supported. Every single way I've made their lives easier. It was longer than I expected. I started with the SUV they were driving. I bought it after my dad's hip replacement because he couldn't handle their old car anymore. He asked if I could help cover the down payment, and I did, then just transferred it into my name and let them use it like it was theirs. I paid the insurance. I paid for the maintenance. I even put a new set of snow tires on it last month. Next was the house. They refinanced it 2 years ago and couldn't qualify on their own because of their credit. They begged me to co-sign for a small renovation. Just a sunroom, my mom said, a peaceful spot to sit and enjoy the golden years. The payments weren't huge, but when they came up short, guess who they called? Then there was the property tax. Every spring. Without fail. I never asked for reimbursement. I paid for my dad's emergency dental surgery last year. Bought them both new phones when they couldn't figure out how to update the old ones. I even paid off my mom's credit card once when she got into trouble buying some home exercise equipment she never used. All of it, came from me. And they still looked at my daughter and saw someone they could push out the door. The next morning I didn't hesitate. I drove over to their house, parked in the driveway and walked straight to the door. My mom answered, looking hopeful like she thought I was there to make up. She asked if I wanted to come in and talk. I told her I wanted the SUV keys. She blinked. Said she didn't understand. I repeated myself. She laughed nervously and said, "You're not serious." I told her the car wasn't hers. That it never was. That if she and Dad could decide who counts as family on a technicality, then so could I. She didn't like that. She got upset. Tried to turn it into a guilt trip. Asked how I could punish them over one misunderstanding. I didn't entertain it. I pushed past her, walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer next to the fridge where they always kept the keys. They were still there, right next to an old deck of cards and a broken remote. My brother was sitting on the couch again, same spot as before, pretending to be on his phone. Didn't say a word. His wife glanced at me but didn't move. My dad walked in from the backyard just as I was walking out with the keys. He asked what I thought I was doing. I told him I was taking back what was mine. He said I was being cruel. That I was making a scene. Then he said something that stuck with me more than I care to admit. "This is what you're teaching Lila? To take things away from people when they make a mistake." I stopped walking and turned to face him. I said no. I was teaching Lila that she never had to keep giving parts of herself to people who treated her like a problem. That love without respect is nothing. That family isn't a contract. It's a choice. And they had made theirs. Then I left. I drove the SUV straight to my mechanic, told him to change the locks, re-register it under my address and schedule a maintenance check. I dropped it at my place that night and parked it next to my car like a trophy. Then I pulled out my laptop again, logged into the joint loan account for their renovation and called the bank. I told them I was removing myself from the loan. They asked if I was sure. I said I was done being responsible for people who weren't responsible for my child. The work on their sunroom stopped 2 days later. I emailed the contractor myself and told him they'd have to find a new way to pay for it. And I canceled the autopay for their property tax. Let them figure it out. They wanted to exclude my daughter? Fine. Let them see what life without the one person holding their entire support system together looks like. By New Year's, I still hadn't heard my dad's voice. Not even a voicemail. But the silence from him said more than anything he could have come up with. My mom kept texting though, scattered things. Recipes Lila used to love. Updates on my brother's kids. A picture of the unfinished sunroom with a sad caption like, "Looks lonely without your touch." I didn't respond. Then on January 4th, a certified letter showed up at my door. It was from a lawyer. At first my stomach dropped. I thought they were actually going to try something insane. But it wasn't a threat. It was a formal request to transfer the SUV title to my dad. Some nonsense about how, given the long-term use and dependency, it was reasonable and expected for the vehicle to remain with them. I laughed. Out loud. Then I threw it in the trash. I had the car. The documents were in my name. Let them waste their money on lawyers. I wasn't bluffing and they were only just starting to realize it. The contractor emailed me that same week. Apparently my parents were trying to get the work back on track but couldn't afford the new payment terms without my portion. They wanted to offer me a repayment plan with interest. I replied with one line. I'm not interested in building anything with people who break what matters. That's when things changed. Saturday morning. Mid-January. I was making coffee when someone knocked at the door. Not rang, knocked. Hard. I opened it and there they were. My parents. Standing together on my front step like they'd rehearsed it. My mom looked tired like she hadn't slept in days. My dad looked smaller. It was strange. The man who once filled every room with his voice barely met my eyes. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. My mom started first. Said they made a terrible mistake. That Christmas had gotten stressful and they took it out on the wrong person. She said they didn't think I'd actually walk away and now they didn't know how to fix it. Then my dad did something I didn't expect. He apologized. Not a half measure. Not a disguised complaint. He said they were wrong. That they were cruel. That what they did to Lila wasn't just inconsiderate. It was unforgivable. And he meant it. He said he didn't know how to undo it, but he was willing to do whatever it took. Said they missed me. Missed her. My first instinct was to yell. To ask how it took them this long. To ask what exactly changed. The guilt or the inconvenience. But I didn't. I just stood there and said I forgave them. But I wouldn't be coming back. And they wouldn't be getting what they had before. No more money. No more favors. No more free rides. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. They nodded. They didn't fight it. That was the part that got to me. Then came the twist. My mom asked if I knew what my brother had been saying. I didn't. She told me he was telling the rest of the family that I set them up to look bad. That I'd planned the whole thing, letting Lila come early alone so she'd be rejected. Said I wanted to punish them for some childhood grudge. That I never really forgave them for things they said when I got divorced. It wasn't just petty. It was malicious. I didn't even get mad. I just went inside, grabbed my phone and texted him 2 words. We're done. Then I blocked his number. Not just his wife's, my cousin's, anyone who sided with him. I wasn't interested in explanations. I was building a smaller circle now, one where my daughter didn't have to wonder whether she was wanted. My parents left that day with tears in their eyes. But I stayed calm. They were sorry. Fine. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. They'd learned to live with the consequences. Blocking my brother wasn't even a decision. It was a reflex. As soon as I found out what he'd been saying, that I somehow orchestrated the whole thing to humiliate our parents, that I'd used my daughter to pull some emotional stunt over ancient family grudges. I didn't even finish reading the texts my mom forwarded me. I opened my phone, typed his name into the contact list and hit block. Then I did the same with his wife. No dramatic message. No warning. Just silence. Lila didn't ask many questions but she noticed the change. She's observant like that. He saw me scrolling, then stopping, then getting quieter. That night while we were brushing our teeth she asked me if Uncle Jake hated us now. I said maybe he never really knew us. She just nodded. The next few days were quiet. Peaceful, honestly. No more texts asking for help with taxes. No emails about updating phone plans. For the first time in years, my brain wasn't juggling 5 of their problems at once. But even with the silence I could feel the shift. It was like I'd pressed a reset button on my life, and now everyone was trying to figure out where they stood. 4 days later I got an email from my mom. Long one. Not sentimental, strategic. She thanked me for hearing them out, that day on the porch. Said they accepted that the relationship had changed and that they would no longer expect the same dynamic. Then she asked for one thing, to send a birthday card to Lila in March. No dinner. No phone calls. Just a card. I read it twice. It wasn't manipulative. It wasn't emotional. It was just her trying to find a foothold in the new version of things. I said yes. But I told her they weren't to call or visit. Not yet. That I'd know when Lila was ready, and until then they could be quiet in the background. Like static. Out of the way. Then something unexpected happened. A few days later I came home from work and saw an envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Just my name handwritten in the corner. I opened it in the kitchen. It was from my dad. 3 short paragraphs. Neatly written like he'd taken his time. He didn't defend what he said. He didn't ask to explain it. He just wrote that growing up his own father made him believe there was an order to things. Adults above children, silence above feelings, obedience above love. That he thought he'd outgrown it but clearly hadn't. He said watching me walk out and take everything with me, the car, the financial support, the piece of the family that actually held things together, forced him to realize how much they'd come to rely on my grace without ever earning it. He ended it by saying he missed Lila, and he knew he didn't deserve to hear from her. I stood in the kitchen holding that letter for a while. Not angry. Not moved. Just stunned. He'd never said anything like that before. Not even when I went through my divorce and needed him. Not when he missed my nursing school graduation because of a fishing trip. I didn't reply. But I didn't throw it away either. Instead, I spent the weekend with Lila. We cleaned out the garage. We built 2 raised garden beds from a kit I'd ordered months ago and never opened. She picked out tomatoes, strawberries, and sugar snap peas. I picked sunflowers and lavender. When we finished, she looked around and said the backyard finally felt like ours. Then quietly she asked if she could talk to them one day. Just talk. Nothing big. I said yes. But on our terms. So the next weekend I called them. Put it on speaker. It was short. 10 minutes maybe. My mom's voice cracked when she heard Lila say hello. My dad didn't say much. Just that he was happy to hear her voice and that he hoped she liked the garden. Lila told them she was growing tomatoes. That was it. That was the call. Afterward she didn't cry. She didn't seem emotional at all. She just said, maybe they're trying now, and went back to scrolling through her playlist. That was the thing. I wasn't waiting for a perfect family. I wasn't even waiting for real apologies anymore. I just needed them to understand the line was drawn, and that if they crossed it again I wouldn't be coming back next time. The access they once had? Gone. The endless support? Cut off. The automatic forgiveness? Expired. They could stay in the background, send their cards, keep their distance. But the version of me they depended on, the one who bailed them out, filled in the emotional gaps and made the holidays work, she was gone. And I wasn't mourning her. I was building something better, with Lila. From scratch. March rolled in with gray skies and early signs of spring in the garden. Lila turned 14 on a quiet Saturday. We didn't throw a party. She didn't want one this year. Just asked to go to her favorite Thai place and bake a cake together after. We did both. A few days before her birthday, the card arrived from my parents. No big envelope. No gift. Just a plain white card with sunflowers on the front. I didn't open it. I let Lila decide. She waited until the morning after her birthday. Sat at the kitchen table with her juice, opened the envelope carefully and read it silently. It was short. My mom wrote that she hoped Lila's year was full of warmth and confidence. That she missed her. That there would always be a place for her in their hearts. Lila folded it once, said, "That's nice," and slid it into the drawer next to the fridge where she keeps movie stubs, old notes and receipts from places we've been. She didn't cry. She didn't smile either. That was the first time I realized she wasn't waiting on them anymore. I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd reached a new normal. Not good, but functioning. They'd send a card. Stay quiet. And we'd keep our distance. Then my brother decided he needed to be heard. It started with a text. Not to my regular phone, he knows better. But to my work phone. I'd forgotten he even had that number. The message came through in the middle of a shift. I read it during a slow moment in the supply room. 3 long paragraphs. It wasn't concern. It was venom. He called me vindictive. Said I'd used Lila as a pawn in a game against our parents. That I always twist the story to make myself the victim. That I'd made a child pay for adult grudges. Then he ended it with something that made my hands go cold. "Congrats. You're raising a kid just like you, bitter, self-righteous and alone." I didn't even reply. I blocked him right there, standing between 2 boxes of sterile gloves and 4 kits. When I got home I didn't tell Lila right away. I went to the storage closet, pulled out the photo albums and flipped through every one that had pictures from past holidays. There weren't many. I'd stopped printing photos years ago. But I found 3 with him in them, holding a sparkler at the 4th of July barbecue, sitting next to Lila at a birthday dinner, laughing over a card game. I cut him out of every one. Not because I was angry, because I was done. That weekend I told Lila everything. I read her the message. Not to scare her. To show her why I was finished trying. She listened carefully, then leaned back and said something that sat with me for days. She said, "I always thought I had to be careful around him. Like if I talked too much, he'd find a way to make me feel dumb." She'd never told me that before. And I hated that it was true. So we made a new plan. We'd add a small fence around the garden this spring. Paint it ourselves. She picked pale green. I picked navy blue. We'd mix the two. It was more than decoration. It was a marker. A quiet, solid line between the life we used to have and the one we were choosing now. My parents still send short emails once in a while. They ask how she's doing. I tell them she's fine. But they know not to ask for more. Because this house, this garden, this peace, it wasn't built on obligation or guilt or traditions that only worked when someone stayed quiet. It was built on survival. On choice. On protecting the kid who deserved better than leftovers and empty chairs. So when people ask if I'll ever let my brother back in, I just say no. Not ever. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And family? Family is who makes room, not who makes excuses. The update. It's been 3 months since Lila's birthday and life's been calm. No drama. No sudden texts. No unexpected knocks at the door. My parents haven't reached out again, and honestly I think they finally understand the boundaries aren't temporary. Lila's finishing up 8th grade now. She made honor roll. She wants to join the debate club next year. Said she's tired of not speaking up when people say things that don't sit right. I told her I was proud of her and I meant it more than she knows. The garden's thriving. Tomatoes everywhere. Sunflowers taller than I expected. That little fence we painted? Still standing. We even added a small bench inside, where we sit on weekends with lemonade and music. It's quiet there. Peaceful in a way I didn't know I needed. The only thing that caught me off guard happened last week. I got a letter. No return address again, but the handwriting was my dad's. Inside was a single photo. Lila, maybe 6 years old, sitting on his shoulders at a park. Both of them laughing. No note. Just the picture. I didn't tell Lila. Not yet. I put it in a drawer. Because some things belong in the past. And some things you hold on to, just to remember why you walked away in the first place.